Okay. Yes. Okay. First of all, let's deal with IFC, industry foundation classes, as defined by Building Smart. The whole purpose of IFC is as a transport mechanism for geometric and data between different BIM models. Okay. So what does that mean? That means if I'm working away originally in Revit and I create a model of this room, and I've got the door there and I've got the door with a single panel in it, but the door actually might come with, I don't know, say 6 or 7 different options in terms of the panel configuration that I can have. In my Revit model, I can pick that particular configuration from the 6 or 7, and that's it, it's in the model. If I then export that as an IFC file, so it's just like a PDF or any other file format, that then goes off into potentially another piece of software, perhaps ArchiCAD. I can read that in, and I can basically see this room represented exactly as I modelled it in the first place. Well, pretty much. My problem then becomes if we decide that that door shouldn't have a single panel in it, it should have 2 panels in it. I can't change it. I've lost all my parametric capability because IFC only allows you to take a snapshot of what it is at a particular moment in time and transport that. So if I needed to change that, having got into this other piece of software, if I needed to change that to a 2-panel door, I'd have to basically request that the person who originated the model in the first place went back into their original model, changed it, and then exported it again. So the problem with IFC is, providing you've got a defined, absolutely not going to change model, then that's great. You can use it as an IFC export. If it's going to change, then it's going to be a backwards and forwards process. And of course, the more backwards and forwards processes you have, the more likely you are that we're going to get it wrong. Thereafter, if you actually look at the major BIM authoring softwares that you've got, as I said, if you just take the UK as an example, Revit is the major software, probably about 60% of the marketplace. ArchiCAD's got about 15%. Vectorworks has got about 8%. Then I guess you start getting into other specialised softwares like Tekla, which does structure. Now, that's the situation in the UK. If you go to Germany, and you're supplying into Germany, then you'll find that the predominant product there is ArchiCAD, and it has about 53%, and Revit has about 40+%. But there's a local competitor there called Allplan, and they have about 15%. So depending upon which market that you're trying to address, you have to make decisions about how many different formats you want to produce. And unfortunately, as I was describing earlier, each format is quite discrete in its own way. It works in an entirely different way. So as an example, in Revit, if you want to produce a BIM object, you actually have to physically draw it. So if you want multiple representations, you have to draw multiple representations. ArchiCAD works in a completely different way. It's a scripting language. So you can basically have a very small script which describes the object, and if you want variations on that, it's just a change to the script. So if you're producing multiple ArchiCAD objects, it's much cheaper than doing them in Revit because it's just a few lines of code. So, the different products have their different pluses and their different negative points. Does that answer the question? Well, all I can say is today, you're in practical terms, you're forced to produce in a native format. Okay, so that for Revit, that's going to either be an RVT file or an RFA file. For ArchiCAD, that's probably going to be, well, it's probably going to be a library container file of some description. So there are different formats for each of the different BIM authoring softwares. Depending on which geography you're trying to service, then you have to decide, what's the right balance. Certainly, if you're in the UK, you would be significantly disadvantaged if you didn't have a Revit one. Okay, I think finally we might be done. So thank you very much for your time. I've got some cards at the front here. I mean, if you want any more information from a BIM Prem 2 point of view, please give me a call. If you want any other information, also give me a call. I will provide a PDF, which I'm sure will be circulated to anyone. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you found it useful, and hope to see you all again sometime. Okay, thanks.
Alan, thank you. We will be running the question of BIM through the councils. So the councils will be the lead on it. Obviously we have an FDNA council, an extinguishing council, and the manufacturing councils. I'd like to know your thoughts on today and where you are. So if you want to email me, martinduggan@fiabuk.com, I will collate that and feed those back to the councils. The idea of 2 or 3 manufacturers starting a little project, if you want to volunteer for that, please let me know. We'll go through the councils are the elected bodies that will make those decisions. But if you feed that through to me, that'd be a great start. And I'll collate that and pass it on to the councils. And then we'll develop it from there. But yes, we've picked up BIM from a board perspective. We need to create the templates as an industry. We want to do that. So where are we? Where are you at? Who's got options already? You can sort of feed that sort of information into me. We can start collating that and having to think about it and then putting a plan together on how we progress this. But that's where we're at. And with that, thank you very much for attending. Free to go.
If you can find your car.
We will